what I wanted to do was to be able to share this article with the community that I wrote many years ago, but it's still relevant, unfortunately. And it's entitled Why Cults Are Self Defeating for Black People. And I should add that we're coming off the heels of me posting an excerpt of an interview I did with my good brother for many years, brother Ishmael Bey, or you may know him as Ishmael Bey Muhammad, where he was talking about critiquing Scientology. He was defining it as a cult. He was saying why black people in particular should not mess with it at all, how they take your money, they can abuse you. The leader of it was a racist, according to Brother Ishmael. A lot of reasons. And what I want to do, it got a lot of views. So apparently there's a lot of traction in this country around the issue of cults. And it should be, particularly when the traction is coming from being critical of them. And I want to make sure that we understand Scientology is just one of many, family. It's just one cult of many. There's a bunch of cults, some of which we may belong to, we may respect, that we don't see as cults because we look at or focus on the good that comes out of it. But when we get finished with this article, you're going to be able to look around and say, wow, this is a cult, basically. It could be your church, it could be your community group or organization that's doing all this good work, supposedly. So I want you to really pay attention because we as black people, for a number of reasons, seem to be particularly vulnerable to joining cults because we're in pain and we're looking for solution and remedy and escape. Cults. There is simply not enough space or time to sufficiently address these nefarious and dangerous organizations. However, given that so many beloved black people fall victim to them, this article will briefly address what they are, how to know if you're in one, and why such organizations are so dangerous and self defeating. Formally speaking, a cult is a political, religious, or social organization whose beliefs and practices are considered bizarre and unorthodox by members of society. Now, this rather loose and ambiguous definition fits many of our currently existing organizations. All right. However, so we must be more specific in identifying the factors that distinguish a cult from other organizations. You will notice that oftentimes a very thin line separates a dangerous cult type organization from a seemingly innocuous or innocent church, fraternal organization, or political group. I should point out that many cults do have some positive features. They often provide inspiration and a sense of solidarity. They sometimes teach important skills and information. Many instill a sense of black cultural or historical pride and even draw from nationalist ideology to promote black self reliance by way of owning businesses and land. Nevertheless, even these organizations, if they are cults, come with many disadvantages that often far outweigh their positive contributions. How do you know if you're in a cult? Well, you might be in a cult if one, there is one, usually male, authoritative figure who makes all the rules and decisions. Two, there is only one book or set of literature or lessons which they encourage you to read, usually the organizations, because this is the only true source of knowledge. All of the books and resources are discouraged or prohibited. Three, the leader promotes him or herself as divine or as being God. Four, the leader suggests that their word, opinion, or insight on any matter is final and infallible, even on matters in which they have no expertise. Five, the leader sets a severely strict system of discipline, which includes physical abuse or humiliation, and they apply it to members that violate rules. Often, the organization has members specifically designated to beat or scold members when necessary. If it's discovered that the leader has broken group rules, he or she explains that their divinity or special status allows them to do such, and they don't get punished at all because they're the leader of the cult. Also, the organization demands the majority of your time, labor, and money and makes you feel guilty or insincere if you are unable to make these readily available all the time. Promotion within the organization occurs largely on the basis of loyalty, sexual favors, and the extent to which a member defends or agrees with the leader and the ideology of the cult, not really based on their ability or competence all the time. The organization tends to set strict guidelines for how you dress, what you eat, your hairstyle, etc., and you are allowed little to no room for individual expression. The organization forces you to sell and consume only their products and often establishes a strict and non negotiable quota you must meet. If you do not meet this quota, you are expected to personally buy said items yourself. The organization consistently promotes and encourages negative comparisons and forms of competitiveness between members. The leader or organization labels you a traitor or agent simply for disagreeing with a practice or policy or associating with people who are not group members. Likewise, all people not involved in the group are deemed to be less intelligent, less valuable, or simply doomed to failure or condemnation. So it isolates you, in other words. The organization attempts to strictly regulate or define what people you can associate with, places you can frequent, or hobbies you can have, etc. The organization frowns upon creativity, new ways of doing things, and new ideas. The organization claims to know when the world will end and uses this knowledge to manipulate your actions. The organization deliberately separates members, isolates them from family members and friends. In an attempt to avoid government or outside scrutiny, the organization may move to remote areas and, in some instances, other countries, as is the case with Jim Jones' infamous People's Temple cult. This cult, composed of primarily black people, ended tragically in 1978 when a paranoid and psychotic Jim Jones, not the rap artist from Harlem, compelled his misled followers to commit mass suicide by way of ingesting poison in a fruit drink. More than 900 people died. From this experience, we have the very popular expression, don't drink the Kool-Aid. That's what it's referring to, this Jim Jones incident. Most of us reading the above list would find such an organization objectionable, but to spell it out, a cult is damaging because it represses free speech, choice, and individual expression. Furthermore, such organizations operate in a top-down manner, providing members with little to no input in decision making. Cults also tend to separate members from their money through exorbitant dues, ridiculous fines, and other methods. Finally, cults discourage balanced thought and information. No organization should restrict members from multifaceted learning. For all of these reasons, therefore, cults are no good. They rob black people of money, time, and opportunities for growth, even though they may be helpful in other areas. As a people that need to have a community consciousness, black people are extremely crippled by any person or group that forces them to associate with and learn from a small segment of their people. Lastly, the myriad issues we confront are simply too enormous for any one man, woman, or organization to address or solve, no matter how divine or intelligent they proclaim to be. Being closed minded, isolated, and manipulated are never wholesome or positive things. We must wake up and avoid those that set themselves up as gods with all the answers and the only answers.